Well, aloha, Kevin.
Aloha, Eddie. How you doing, brother?
I'm good, bro. Ham. You?
Good, 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 good. Hey, another episode, Sea Stories. I'm excited. We got a bit of a heavier topic today. We're going to talk about something that's deeply personal to Eddie and myself, being the end of Mental Health Awareness Month, getting ready to go into PTSD Awareness Month. We're going to talk about our mental health. Just a brief snippet. I was diagnosed PTSD in year 17 of service, so I was still on active duty. Man, I'm excited about the conversation today.
Yeah, man. And it's such a heavy topic. It's not just going to be held by us. We're actually bringing in a an external guest, man. And I don't want to say he's like no resident pro or anything, but he has definitely dealt with this quite a bit, not personally or personally and professionally, not just for himself, but with other people as well.
Thanks for this opportunity. So I spent 13 years in the Navy and got out almost 3 years ago, May 28th. I think it's going to be 3 years as a involuntary civilian. And I say that because I was med boarded out. I was fully committed to doing my full 20, and then I got sick and they're like, well, you're done. And they sent me home. But looking back at it, it was probably like one of the best things that could have ever happened, because I don't know how I could have done another 7 years. Yeah, I started, no, absolutely no idea why I joined. I had no interest in the military whatsoever, but I decided to do it just for 4 years. Started as an electrician, knew nothing about electricity or engineering or even what a Phillips screwdriver looks like. When they said Phillips screwdriver, I thought that was like the name of the brand, not what it looked like. I started doing that, then started doing like counter-piracy, counter-narcotic boarding, started doing translating, had a lot of fun with all that stuff, then moved over to recruiting, enjoyed recruiting a little bit more than being in the engineering plant, converted over to career recruiter, and just started having fun. One recruiting tour, went down to Millington, Tennessee, where I was over at kind of like recruiting headquarters. I don't know why that's down in Millington, Tennessee.
I'm still trying to figure that one out
Yeah.
too, man. I've been there a couple of times. I'm like, why are we here?
Yeah. The closest thing to water in Millington, Tennessee is like a toilet. So, like, I don't probably the cheapest place where they could build something. But yeah, then I actually went over to the Pentagon, completely out of the recruiting world. That's where I killed my career, because like a career recruiter working at the Pentagon out of recruiting, it wasn't a good look, but had a lot of fun. I got to run all of the Navy's social media accounts. It was both fun and terrifying, because like you would think, oh, like, you just work on the Navy's Instagram, but you could literally start a war if you post the wrong thing. And we definitely pushed the boundaries there, and we pissed off countries like China and Iran by posting memes about them. And whenever they would do something dumb, we would like make a meme about it and post it, and hundreds of thousands of people would start talking about it, and like Business Insider would pick it up and CNN would pick it up and be like, US Navy mocks Iran on Instagram. It was great. Like, we got to roast people in comments. I mean, it was awesome. I got med boarded for Crohn's and mental health stuff, got out, kind of stayed in this marketing world. Now I do marketing for Amazon. So yeah, it's a crazy ride.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I want to hear a little bit more about is some of the stuff that you did while in recruiting. I believe that's kind of where it started, where recruiter helping suicide awareness and stuff like that through Reddit and all those other things, man. Because I mean, I was following you before we even met, because I can even remember back in the day, you were somewhere in New Jersey, if I'm correctly, if I'm remembering correctly, in recruiting, and I was stationed in, oh man, that one state.
Ohio.
Yeah, that one. And I was recruiting, and I remember seeing all that stuff you were doing on Facebook, man, which is social media. Like, that's your niche, bro, man. Like, that's you all day, bro. And the people that are following you and watching you, they know.
Like I've had, like many other service members, like I've had and still have, some struggles with mental health. And while I was recruiting, I picked up E7, and I forget where it was. I want to say it was like in Pensacola, some TAD or whatever. I got a phone call that one of my very close friends ended his life due to mental health. It just like kind of shocked me, because like always, you really don't see something like this coming. I've never used Reddit before. I've never been on Reddit. I've never used it. I didn't know how to use it. I didn't know that it was supposed to be anonymous. I had no PAO, public affairs, PR, whatever training at all. But like in uniform, I went on there while I was with the Master Chief at the time. He was in the car waiting. I went on and I made like a 5 minute long video and I just posted onto the Navy subgroup on Reddit. And, I just spoke about like what happened. I didn't give away like names or anything like that, but I just spoke about like what happened and like what I've struggled with and some like resources. It just like took off from there. Reddit is generally a place where people have absolutely no fear to like bash anyone.
Yes.
And, like they are ruthless on there just because it is protected under such like an anonymous, like wall. And I put out my personal phone number that I still have, where I'm still getting like text and phone numbers. The amount of support that came from that post was wild. And I started getting texts and phone calls and, I started making more posts. The text and phone calls that were coming in were all from like service members that were struggling. Some of them were just like, hey, I'm struggling. I don't know what to do. And I would speak to them and give them a few resources and they were fine. Others were a lot more serious to where like I would get a phone call and this guy's like, hey, I have a gun. You're going to be the last person that I speak to. And I have no idea who this person is. Like nobody ever picks up random numbers. I pick up every single random number and just kind of have to like talk, this person down. It got to the point to where it became overwhelming to where like I just couldn't answer every single call. And like I needed more resources just because like they're coming from all brands. I could align with someone who's in the Navy. I can't talk about what's going on with the Air Force or what's going on with the Coast Guard or the Army. So we started to recruit more people from different branches. And, we got it to the point to where we had at least one person from every branch that was like on standby 24/7. And whenever they were deployed or they wouldn't be reachable, they would give it to someone else. When you would get a phone call like that, like, hey, you're the last person I'm going to talk to, the number's blocked and they're not giving you any information. Whoever's talking to that person would try to get as many details as they can.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, so, we know it's a guy or we know it's a girl. How old are you? 23. Okay, we know you were born at this year. Are you stationed on a ship or on a sub or on land? Because like they don't want to give too many details, but just having like that free flowing conversation with them allowed us to kind of like dig into it a little bit. And as we're getting that info, we're in a group chat and we're just putting everything into that group chat. Everyone on the other side is just trying to like narrow it down to a small list of people. And, most of the time we can get it down to like one person. Other times when we can't get it down to one, we'll get it down to like, 5 or 10. And we'll just get law enforcement involved with all of them. And if law enforcement shows up and it's the wrong person, sorry, it's going to be the right person. One of them is going to be the right person. And thinking just based off of like recent events that literally just happened with one of the airmen, if something like this should happen again, I would probably change up my approach, how we do things. It was both very like rewarding to where we're out there and we're doing this outreach and we're helping a bunch of people. It was also terrifying and disappointing because like there was a time to where like we couldn't get to someone in time. And, just like disappointing also to where like it sucks that you still have to get all of these phone calls, and all of these texts and all of these messages because like it's just a clear indication that the system is completely broken. And, I used to think it was just on the military side. Like, yes, the military has its stigmas and it has leaders that don't believe in it, but it's also on the civilian side. I mean, providers are so backed up that they can't keep up. And that's why I worked a little bit with Telemind, which is like this mental health, like telehealth. They actually work with the VA as well. So It's not like you need to have TRICARE. You have like VA care. You could ask for it. And literally like when I speak to people now and they're like, hey, I can't get seen. I'm like, go to the VA, go to your primary care, ask them for a referral for Telemind. And within like 3 to 5 days, they already have their first appointment.
Wow.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things to where like I've had zero training and some people were like, oh, you should try to get like certifications or this should be your job. I feel like if it's ever my job, I will just not find it enjoyable because like I'm doing it to get paid and make a live, who likes their job, I don't know, maybe you guys do. Like I would much rather do it as a passion and not as a job. But yeah, I mean, it's been 6 years, the phone calls have slowly decreased over time. Not because I think the issues are getting better, just because like I'm not putting my number out there as much because, it got to the point to where like I started falling into like these dark holes from like getting all these phone calls, and it was taking time away from like my family, and it would get me in a bad place because I'm like, this what this person is struggling through. But yeah, it's kind of how it all kicked off.
Going back to that moment where you decided to put that post on Reddit at the very start of all this, to me, I would have been terrified putting that out into the world. I mean, I had a close friend. Um, it was murder suicide. He killed his entire family, then he killed himself. I couldn't talk about it, right after the fact or even months. It's even hard now to acknowledge it, right? It took a lot of courage for you to put that post out there and look at all the good that it's done. I think the parallel there is when I started with the symptoms, I was in denial for a long time and I didn't talk about it. And it was my wife who finally said, "What the hell's going on with you? Like, you're changing, you're different, you're drinking a lot more. Like, what is happening?" And then I lost it and I came clean on everything. And it took a lot of courage. But as soon as I made that leap, God, I felt so much better. And it was like, that's when I started seeking help. And it was like, I felt like I had someone on my side. And I think that's what you were doing and what you're still doing when these people do engage with you is you're giving them hope that, hey, there's somebody that's there for me, that's on my side and wants me to get the help and wants me to be better. And sometimes that's all it takes, man. I mean, it's crazy, but kudos to you, man. That's awesome. I think that's an incredible impact and story, and I love it.
That's like the biggest thing. Even like when I was going through my shit, it like to us, like we don't see it. We just put these blinders on, and like
Yeah.
like you said, like we're in denial. And to us, it's more of like a suck it up, it'll get better, or whatever it is. But sometimes we need that external kind of like kick in the ass to like, no, like it is not good. And you need to go get seen. Kind of like, like I said, I have Crohn's disease. All right, like I poop a lot. Okay, cool. But even now, my wife is like, "You're pooping a little bit more than you should. You should go to the doctor." You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
sometimes you need that like external push to get you going.
Yeah.
Man, you got me thinking I might need to go get checked out for Crohn's because I feel like I poop a lot.
Everyone should go get their butthole checked at least once before the age of 40.
Oh man, I'm late. I turned 42 at the end of the month.
You gotta go get it checked twice then.
Oh,
You gotta
man.
catch up.
But no,
We
man,
just took a turn.
yeah, but that happens. We kind of turn the tide sometimes. But no, man, that's awesome. So other than like the VA and Telemind, those are two seem to be great resources. I know Kevin and we've talked about it in the past. We'll talk about it again in the future because we both utilize it, which is the vet centers. Where would you recommend people to reach out to from your perspective?
When we're in, we constantly have someone to talk to. We constantly have a network. Yeah. We see at least 100 people a day that are all going through the same shit as us. That are all, and we could all align on things and we could talk and we're all going through the same struggle. When you get out, there are some days that I don't talk to anyone.
Yeah.
Like if it wasn't for Call of Duty at night, I would literally have 0 people to talk to. Like literally no one. So, just finding that hobby, that whatever it is, whether you learn how to make wallets out of leather or you're journaling or you're not me. I was just saying, I've seen people do it.
I do.
Oh, really?
He journals.
That's nice.
He journals.
Oh,
I journal.
okay.
Yeah,
no, I'm just kidding.
No.
Hey,
he does the leather.
Yeah, nothing against it, but yeah, I do the leather work.
Yeah, I mean, like, you need to find something that can like keep you occupied because you no longer have those 150 people that are going to keep you occupied. So finding a hobby is huge, and that's something, you don't need to make an appointment to find a hobby. Yeah. You don't need to rely on something. It could be anything. Try different hobbies, try different things, try something that crocheting. It might sound I don't know how to crochet. I might like it. I'm thinking about trying it, getting one of those like Weeble boxes or whatever it's called.
We could start a crocheting group. where we all
Yeah,
get online and on the Zoom call and we
That's
just
that's
crochet
brought
together.
that's brought
yeah.
many hours of frustration to my 9-year-old daughter. She is she
So
got one of those persistence. She's like,
crocheting is out then. I'm out.
yeah.
Yeah,
But just like going out and like trying new things that you may have never thought that you would want to do that, but like now you don't have to route a special request chit to go bungee jumping. Maybe you're a bungee jumper. Maybe you're a skydiver. Maybe you want to go to Tijuana and have some cheap tequila and tacos. You could do that now. Just
I like
explore the
tacos.
different yeah, just explore the different freedoms and different things that before you may have not have had the time for. Um, network as much as possible and try to speak to as many veterans as you can. Um, and then, I'm not a big faith person, but I know some veterans that they got out and the way that they turned to religion, I'm like, dude, you're running a church? This is the same guy that stole a sloth on deployment? You're you're running a youth group church? Like, who are you? So just like you're free. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like you're
Yeah.
a new person and there's literally nothing holding you back anymore. So just go out there and you know try everything. It doesn't have to be medical. It doesn't have to be, like speaking to a doctor or provider
yeah,
or something like that. It could literally be something like gardening,
yeah.
I
go.
I love this, man. I mean, this is it's it, it's interesting because in some of our other episodes and just in some of our conversations in the day to day, we obviously are talking a lot about the transitioning veteran and what that I mean that we all that's a freaking hurdle in itself, right? I mean, there's huge range of emotions, the big breakup, whatever you want to call it. And we always emphasize like reach out to the veteran community because there are people that have been through the same shit and felt the same emotions and it's helpful. And I'm curious, you mentioned having some of your own, mental health struggles and battles. And did you find any relief when you started talking to others and helping them through their struggles for yourself?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like it's gonna sound like pretty selfish, but like that's where I found like the most relief. That honestly helped me more than any provider. Because like when you get into that place, like you feel like you're the only one.
Yeah.
You feel like you are the only one that's feeling like this. You're the only one that's messed up. And you start getting like dark thoughts. But when you see like, oh shit, like there's thousands of others that feel exactly the same way that I am. Um, that like makes you feel a little bit better. And then like when you start helping these people, not only are like let's say you start doing research for someone about some resources, you're like, oh shit, like I should use these resources too.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I mean, it definitely helped tremendously helping other people. Um, and again, that it helped me. It might not help someone else.
Yeah.
But that's where you just have to kind of like do some do some soul searching and see what works for you.
It's interesting and I honed in on that point because for me, when I officially received my diagnosis, right, and I put some sense to why I was having these intrusive thoughts, why I was having these nightmares like every freaking night, why I could be walking around my day to day and just like see the face of somebody that I pulled out of the lake that had been soaking for like 2 weeks. Um, I made the decision to because when I came up, you know, we talk about these situations amongst ourselves when we're on active duty and we're surrounded by people doing the same job. But largely when I was coming up, it was this is what you signed up for, man. Suck it up, buttercup. Like just
Hmm.
go drink some beers, come back to work tomorrow, and well, let's do it again, right? And I was in my 17th year of service when I started having the issues. Um, And I got up in front of the crew of the unit that I was at, and I kicked the command out. And I said, "Look," and obviously the command knew what was going on. I kept them in the loop, but um, I stood up there and I said just that. Look, when I came up, it was suck it up. This is your job. This is what you sign up for, and I'm here to tell you that it's bullshit. It's not. Like, yes, we signed up to do this job, and yes, we signed up to put ourselves in these situations. But that doesn't mean that you have to suffer from it. And that doesn't mean that you have to just bury it deep down inside because that shit don't work. Um, and and when I did that, that came after quite a bit of coaching from my counselor at the time. Um, Man, again, it was like that big release. It was like, holy shit, that felt great. And that's why it's like I'm an open book, man. If somebody wants to ask me about it, talk to me about it. I'm going to talk about it because it makes me feel
Mhm.
better.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, just talking to someone, that can listen and kind of like align with you, and that helps a lot. And I don't really want to say anything bad about like the veteran suicide hotline, because it is a great resource and it
Yeah.
has helped many, many people. But I don't want someone to be discouraged if they call that number and they have a bad experience, because there's some people on that hotline that are 80 years old and have served when the military was a very different place. And
Yeah.
you're calling and they're like, oh, on my sailboat, we like, it's like, no, bro, like different problems, like
Yeah.
Back on
different,
the
different
wooden
world.
ships and Men of Steel, we
On
Yeah.
the USS
Yeah.
Constitution.
yeah.
Yeah. Like, so if you were to, call that hotline and someone answers and you just get like a bad taste in your mouth, hang up, call
Yeah.
right back.
Yeah.
You might
Yes.
get someone that is a little bit younger and has transitioned a little bit, you know,
More
you
recently.
know,
I
Yep.
went through like in the last 7 years. I've been through seven different counselors. Some of it by choice, some of it they moved on, and I had to find
Hmm.
another one. It's like shit, and I think it's going to be a good relationship where I can just be myself and let my guard down and share with them everything that I'm feeling. Right.
Hmm.
Um, Whereas other situations, it was like 10 minutes in, I'm like, "God, when's this hour over? I got to get out of here." So don't be afraid
yeah,
to like
Yeah.
walk away and find someone else.
yeah, and like with that, that could also be like super discouraging. Is like
Hmm.
let's say you start with a counselor and you build an amazing relationship with them, and then like you move,
Yeah.
or they no longer accept your insurance or whatever it is, and you have to start completely over. So one thing that I would do with that is at the end of your session, journal everything that you talked about. Bring up
Yeah.
all the issues that you talked about, you know, from your very first session through the very last one that you have. And then when you go to that new counselor, be like, look, I'm not wasting my time repeating all this shit and reliving all of these traumas. Just read through this journal. Take this hour that my insurance is going to pay you for and just read through that journal and let's catch up on the next one. Just
Yeah, and
because
that's
also kind
brilliant.
of like, yeah, like sometimes
Absolutely.
like reliving that stuff actually does like more harm than good. Like I don't want to talk about
Absolutely.
Yeah.
this shit again. It's kind of like opening up that wound, like peeling the scab off. You just started to heal there and make it bleed again. But yeah, just like journal everything.
I love that, man, because
Dude.
I mean, I've also heard that there's a real power in journaling because you can just be unabashedly honest, right? You just write anything that you're feeling there. And I love the idea of doing it right after like a counseling session because I know that there's a lot of counseling sessions. I'm still doing it every 2 weeks I go. And I know it's like after most sessions, there's something that they said that like really clicked, and it's like, oh my God, yeah, like I can totally apply that to the situation. Man, I'm gonna start writing that shit down because,
Yeah,
and like you said, because that conversation, it's inevitable, it's gonna happen. I'm gonna get on for my appointment, and we're gonna get to the last 10 minutes, and the counselor's gonna be like, so I've got some news to share. I'm going to be leaving the vet center and I'm moving on. And I've got another counselor that I can refer you to. And in that moment, that's happened to me 3 times now, where I really like the counselor, and it's like everything just sinks down into your gut. And it's like, oh, because you're thinking about, man, I'm gonna have to talk about everything, start from scratch. And it's just a buzzkill, man. It's like you go to this hour and you have to talk about it again, and you walk away and you're just down. And I'm gonna start journaling, man. Thanks, Grant.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
of course.
brilliant. No, I love that.
Grant, that's probably some of the best advice I've heard in a really long time, especially as it pertains to like the mental health and keeping that. Because I agree, man. Like I've moved locations, and honestly, I'll tell you right now, I've been hesitant to go back because I didn't want to relive all that stuff again. But I know I need to, and I think this is. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's going to be a step for me that I'm probably going to implement as soon as like I get back out there and into that situation. Because I think that's powerful. It's huge.
Yeah, and then you know what? Turn it around and make it a best-selling novel.
That's what I'm talking about.
You know, like you just took your journal and you turned it
Hashtag
into
retirement.
yeah, like you be like those SEALs, they get like when you sign the SEAL contract, you get a book deal and you get a movie deal.
There you go.
And so that's it. Turn it into something that could help others.
Yeah, we need more Coast Guard movies. Come on, I'm gonna start journaling.
I truly appreciate it, man. Any final words of wisdom for us, for our fellow vets?
No, just enjoy every single veteran discount that you could get. that's about it.
Right on. Awesome, man. Well, we appreciate you coming on and kind of shooting the breeze with us and telling us some of your sea stories, Colin, that go along with our sea stories. We truly appreciate it, man. And keep on keeping on, brother.
Yeah, of course. Thanks, guys.
Kevin, what are you doing, bro?
I'm journaling, man.
Dude, we're not done yet. We still got to close this out.
I got to get it while it's fresh on the brain, man. That was solid advice. I mean, look, nobody wants to relive that shit time and time again. You're going to lose your counselor. You're going to go to a new counselor. I'm journaling. I got to remember it, man, or else I'm going to forget it. Like
just a couple minutes, though. Just a couple minutes to get right back to it. Let's close this out, man. But no, talking with Grant was awesome today. And just like you said, man, dude, I learned it, man. This is something that I learned new, and I'm definitely going to use it going forward, man. Because, like I said, man, sometimes you just don't want to relive that stuff, but sometimes, in the same perspective, we have to. And the other thing I think that will be good about the journaling is as you write down how you got through it, right? Going back and looking at that, like, hey, man, how did I get through this when this demon came back up?
Yeah. I said it before, I'm going to say it again, man. I mean, I learned something in today's episode, and this is one of the things that I'm really enjoying the most out of this. I mean, other than getting to spend time with my homeboy, Aloha Eddie, but I hopefully we're putting out enough information that you all are feeling like you're getting something, just as much from it as we feel we're getting from it. So thank you for watching, listening, whatever you're doing.
Same, man. I appreciate it. Aloha, everybody. And, we always got to close it out by reminding Kevin that, wow, bro, you stupid.